How you guys doing? This is the one video I'm doing this weekend, primarily talking about the Cup Series at Gateway, but we'll talk about all three series here. Very quickly, I will be out of town this weekend. I'll be at DreamHack Dallas, so if you guys are there, or you're in the greater downtown Dallas area and you see me over the next couple of days, feel free to say hello. Secondly, I will not be able to do projections for Xfinity at Portland just because they practice and qualify and then race within about a 4-hour window on Saturday. I just have no ability, no way to be able to make projections for that. I will, however, have projections for the Truck Series and Cup Series, as the Trucks practice and qualify on Friday, the Cup practice and qualify on Saturday, and then they race the day after that. So both those two series, I'll have those on. If you, or at this point, I mean, it's the 31st of May, but tomorrow is the 1st of June. Feel free to join the Patreon if you have liked anything that I have done recently, if it's helped you out in any form or fashion, or if you just want to be in a Discord with very like-minded people who are honestly way smarter than me. A lot of great info in Discord that isn't just for me in there. Like, there's ASC, Sterling, Astukas, just tons of people in there who are competing each and every week, and so on and so forth. Maybe we can get BVP in there. I mean, BVP finished second in the main NASCAR contest on Sunday. He's always in here. He's always on the live shows talking with us, putting super chats in the chat. A lot of good guys in the Discord. So you can join that tomorrow. And really past that, let's kind of just talk briefly about the. Actually, I'll do the last two series first because most people are here for the Cup Series. So a lot of people like this last week. This is what I typically look at on my end whenever I'm just like talking at the screen, but a lot of people like it in general. Now, for me, as other people might not agree with this, they might not like it, whatever the case may be, I'm including Coda. I always like to at least have that to look at. Not just Coda in general, like the road courses in general. I like to glimpse at it. I like to take a gander. I mean, primarily I'm focusing on Phoenix and Richmond, but Coda, I just want to see where these cats were at. Martinsville, I know we're much faster, but I think it is noteworthy to look at Martinsville, but we're primarily looking at Phoenix and Richmond here. Oh, guess what? We're in the same thing again. Larson and Byron, which is just how it is. And we see a lot of similarities between the intermediate tracks and here, just the guys being fast. They're fast. So when we're looking at Gateway, and now we won't have the number one pit stall be that big of an advantage because Charlotte has the lowest amount, or excuse me, shortest distance between the timing line and the first pit stall. But clearly, anybody who has the number one pit stall, you should pretty much always kind of play. Anybody who has a good pit stall, you should play. That's any pit stall with an opening, primarily exiting, but entering as well. I think that's going to be pretty huge. We saw it last year. We saw several people take the lead under pit road here as well. Phoenix was difficult to pass. We saw Richmond was difficult to pass. They mainly passed Richmond on pit strategy and just different tire strategies that they were at. But that was mainly it. You remember that, Truex basically ran out of tires at Richmond. Like, a lot of things happen on pit lane and pit road, specifically at these short tracks. I mean, come on, that's what Gateway is. It races like a short track, okay? That's just what it is, okay? I believe passing is going to be pretty difficult, even when we look back last year, outside of when things just got stupid, like when, Hamlin's running Chastain down, we got Harvick blowing a brake, flying in the wall, nearly dying. Excuse me, outside of all the wrecks and crazy stuff, it was mainly just pit road again, and it's just difficult to pass. That's how it is. I don't believe, let me see if salaries are out at the moment right now. I set this up earlier, but I got a lot of stuff to do today because I drive out tomorrow. So let's see. Are Cup Series salaries out? They are not. So I'm running this without any salaries to kind of base back to or add or whatever. But we're seeing that Larson. We're seeing that William Byron clearly. Between these two races. Real quick regarding Chase Elliott not being in the car, we got Corey LaJoie in the 9, we got Hocevar in the 7. LaJoie, that lying piece of shit, should be able to at least keep that car as a 17th, 16th place car when we, just very quickly, because I know we're going to have questions. There was questions in Discord already. Regardless of what you think about LaJoie, I mean, I just don't like him on a personal level, but I've been playing him a ton as of late. And we are seeing Spire take a bit of a downswing, which is really strange. They were looking really good at Dover and Kansas and has really taken a downswing the last couple of races. But LaJoie has been able to bring that car on his skill, and yes, what they've been bringing to the table. But he's been right there from 22nd to 19th in terms of taking that back marker of equipment, truly moving up. Remember when he was like, we're going to compete for whatever? Yeah, it's not my rants. The fact that he's going into the Hendrick car, going to have a good pit stall, going to have a good team, going to have a good setup behind him, going to be able to actually race and compete there. I think the expectation for LaJoie is a running position anywhere between 18th and probably 13th. My initial takeaway is he's probably going to be in the 7K range, depending on where he qualifies. He might be able to get that 35 to 40 points or whatever, depending on what his salary is, but it truly depends on where he qualifies. I would have his running position from 18th to 12th. That's just where I'm at there. In guards of Hocevar, who's already familiar with Spire, who's already having a good relationship with him, I would imagine that he's going to be just an identical one-to-one replacement for LaJoie. And so I would honestly just look at how LaJoie's been running here. And so just real quick, where is LaJoie? Where has this car been with LaJoie? This is where... I missed LaJoie Martin. So this is where we're at. We're seeing anywhere from 24th best to 33rd. I would imagine it's the same thing. If we end up getting Hocevar anywhere from 5,000 to 55, he's very much in play. If it's anything more than that, I think it's a bit of a stretch to look at. That's just my takeaway on those two guys really fast. As we continue to go on, I would look at Christopher Bell being probably my secondary guy that I would use probably after one of the Hendrick guys. Same thing with Truex. We're seeing that Truex resurgence is completely real, and as I said, we can look at these two here. I mean, we're seeing Truex up there. We're seeing him right outside the top 15 or right outside the top 13 here, or right at 13th. My bad. But these are probably the main people that I would focus on. This is just where I want to be. We're seeing that these crews are there. We're seeing that Christopher Bell is really, we need to, at least where I'm at, I need to play more Christopher Bell because we're seeing that he's taking an upswing. We're seeing that he is passing other guys in terms of what his upside is, in terms of leading laps, in terms of what that crew is, in terms of how fast they are in pit lane. I think this is a week to play Christopher Bell before the ownership kind of gets to him. We're seeing him, I mean, he was always there outside, from like 5th to 8th in your projections list, but I kind of want to be ahead of the curve on Christopher Bell. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Everybody else is very much up in the air. We're not seeing a lot of distinct correlation between these. I mean, we're seeing Hamlin there, of course, between Martinsville, between Phoenix and Richmond, he was there as well. I mean, it's really the same guys as normal. But this is kind of where we're at. I'm assuming that this race, in terms of landing on who's a lap leader, is going to be relatively easy. Not saying that it's ever a walk in the park, but that's the first step of having a lineup that's going to cash. It's all about who else you have in your value and stuff like that. And so that's where I primarily want to focus on here. So when we're looking at the back of the field, it's a situation where, here, we're just going to highlight everybody who's typically back here. So like Harrison, let's do, we're seeing Harrison Burton, which yet again, I'm going to assume that we're using probably 3 guys from this range, or at least 2 of them. Very similar to the Coca-Cola 600. It was very much A.J. McDowell or Zane Smith and J.J. Yaley. Shout out to J.J. Yaley for scoring nearly 45 points. You only have like 3 to 4 options at the very bottom of that range. Unless they completely remove like Michael McDowell. Like just from here, you're seeing that Michael McDowell has been way better on the short tracks package than he is on the intermediates and stuff. So right now, McDowell would probably show as my priority play. back there. I'm going to assume AJ isn't nearly as... No, yeah, we're seeing a step back a little bit because they perform way better on the intermediates than they do... Where's Haley at? Yeah, so that was pretty right there. So we're seeing Collie kind of take a step back at these short tracks and things like that. So right now it's looking like McDowell's probably the guy that I'd want to focus on primarily. And this is just without practice data. Clearly that's what I want to focus on. Let's see what Priest did really fast. We're seeing Priest be pretty middle of the tier. Well, we are seeing him move into the top 20%, which this is very significant. You know, the fact that he has been very much a middle of the pack type of driver, and we're seeing, actually he's probably getting in the 7K range. Let me change this color. We'll put him in green, because he will most likely be in the 7K range. And in my head, I mainly just use, like, these are the color coordinations that I usually use in my head. Pinks are typically, you know, who my primary lap leaders are. Blues are pretty much where my foundation of the lineups are going, and green is typically, most people look at those as like safe plays, but I typically look at them and like people in the, you know, 6, 7, and 8Ks that I could realistically want to get to. So I also want to add that this is why I include CODA in here. It isn't the first step in the process, or it isn't the first step of what I'm looking at. But when I'm looking at these races here, like McDowell, for example, here, you know, McDowell, pretty good run at Phoenix, pretty good. And this, yet again, this is the combination that I put together with race rating, pit road, running position, fast laps, laps led, everything kind of combined into one, and then I kind of average where everybody falls into that, and then we get these. So this isn't necessarily solely driver rating or finishing position. This is just where, in my opinion, these guys were in terms of the best car at any given track. So when you look at Phoenix and Richmond, you're seeing that McDowell is there, and then you see, oh yeah, McDowell ran pretty good at CODA. You know, you gotta wrap it around and look at it. Well, CODA has ran in a similar time frame as these two races, very similar in terms of. And I hate whenever people are like, actually, road courses are nothing like short tracks. Actually, you know, there's a lot of different things between these races and stuff. I find a lot of similarities between it. And it's a good place to do like a back check, like once you've already looked at your initial things, look in here and be like, oh yeah, Michael McDowell also had a really good car at CODA. You know, like, I just enjoy looking at that type of stuff. It sucks that I'm doing this before salaries come out. I'm not really noticing anybody else that I would primarily want to try and chase or focus on and stuff. We got Ham way down here. We're going to have to highlight him. We're seeing... what else? What other guys are popping out? Let's look at Christopher Bell again between this and Martinsville. That tricks. How's Suarez doing? They taking a step up or taking a step back? That's a bit of a step back. We're seeing Ross make heads or tails. When you see him pop up here between these two races, like, okay, yes, top 10 car at Phoenix, you know, top 15-ish car at Martinsville. We're seeing that he doesn't have the oomph to get by these boys here. And so I'm like, okay, I just find it hard to believe that Ross really gets there, especially with how we're seeing Trackhouse kind of regress a little bit. What's Reddick doing? So Reddick is certainly there. Might want to highlight Reddick as well. This might be a situation, and he's probably going to run better than Bubba because Bubba is quite horrendous. Let's look. Yeah, we're seeing a pretty big step back from Bubba based, you know, compared to this to his intermediate tracks. What's Brad doing? Because Brad ran pretty well at Richmond. So Brad is there again. But you're seeing that. I mean, Brad really is going to compete for a win at some point this year. Could be a race like this. These are mainly the people that I would kind of look at. We're seeing Briscoe up there as well. What about Stuart Haas in general? We're seeing Briscoe be there. We're seeing Priest. What's Eric Almirola doing? I mean, this was track position at Martinsville. Nothing really noteworthy from Eric Almirola. But we're seeing, and Briscoe has been. I mean, Briscoe has the run at Phoenix, which yet again was on pit lane. But we're seeing that Briscoe typically runs better at these short tracks than he does at intermediates. For whatever reason, it seems to just be in his wheelhouse more. Past that, we can look at Gillen again, but we kind of know where he's running. I know he finished up front at Martinsville, and that's kind of what kickstarted his whole running well. Let's see where Gillen is at. Gillen. So Gillen's teetering right on, a top 20 car, which is notable to see. I'm not sure if he's back in the front row this weekend. But Gillen's there as well. Anyway, these are, in my opinion, these are like the main couple tiers that we would look at in terms of possible misprice and in terms of possible guys who want to chase for the win, and so on and so forth. This is where at least my initial research and stuff would probably start, and honestly kind of end. I trust these data points here. I'll usually just refer back to this in general, building projections, making lineups, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we look at the truck race at COTA, we need to be aware that we're losing a good portion of the field of being potential plays due to the lack of speed that they're going to show. It should pretty much be, Corey Heim, who's been probably the best car on short tracks lately. Some of the Tricon machines, obviously Nick, Zane, Ty Majeski, really the same guys that we had interest at North Wilkesboro. Those are the same individuals that I would want to prioritize for Gateway, and then add that with practice data and stuff. But that's really where it's at. I don't really dive into trucks nearly as much. I really don't have the time to do it today. That's why I've liked the live shows a lot recently. Thank you guys very much for always tuning in to the live shows and everything, and being present and hanging out with me and talking to me and stuff like that. For Portland, look at practice speed. You can look at where people finish in general for road courses. However, these Xfinity road courses, we've had a lot of asterisks by them, a lot of, rain races, a lot of races that see green, white, checkered like 7 times, runaway races between Gibbs and AJ Allmendinger. So the fact that those two individuals are not in the race opens the door for a lot more people to possibly lead in this race. It opens the door for people to gain 2 more positions than they normally do, because typically first and second is just locked down by Gibbs and AJ. The fact that doesn't exist moves everybody up 2 positions from where they would normally run. So keep that in mind as well. I would default to more of just practice data in that race. Now I'm going to still make a line for Xfinity just to keep my DraftKings streak going for the crowns at the end of the year, but I'm going to have very, very little interest in Portland just because I won't be able to really do much of anything regarding that race. And that's really it. If you guys need anything else, I'll still be able to answer stuff on Patreon, on Twitter, in the Discord, wherever the case may be. But this is really it. This is the preview for Gateway. Guys in purples are the guys that I would probably try and prioritize in terms of lap leaders, in terms of your dominators. Guys in blue are most likely the people that I would want to try and build around primarily, in terms of like the value plays of Burton, McDowell, so on and so forth. And then greens are probably guys that I would imagine are probably going to be, and these colors might change a little. I don't know. Don't worry about the definition of the colors real fast. I'm just explaining what they are in this. Green are probably guys that I would probably be more inclined to play more of this weekend than normal. And then, the Collie cars, which we have really loved to play at intermediate tracks, I would be hesitant to play them here because they do lack the speed on short tracks, unless we see something wild out of practice and stuff. So I am going to probably end it there. Thank you guys very much for listening. I will see you guys later. Alligators. See you guys next week in the videos next week. Bye-bye.